A lot of people out there don't know they have these things. For all of us to know that every year you get a free copy of your credit report at annualcreditreport.com. You've got to get it knowing that identity theft is the fastest growing crime in America. Pay attention to what's out there. Pay attention to your own Social Security number. There's no reason to not get a report or to be in a monitoring program. And once you do get that report and you see things that maybe you didn't assume, that you didn't know they were there, or things that you knew were there that actually now rear their ugly head, the good things or bad things happen to good or bad people. At least on the credit report, you have to think that it's not the end of the world. The bureaus and the creditors and the collection companies and the judgment filers, they all have to follow the letter of the law. And luckily for us consumers, a lot of times they make mistakes. So even on a foreclosure or even on a short sale or even on a loan mod, and I can't say it happens on every one, but there's mistakes. And when there's mistakes done, we hold the letter of the law to the bureaus and also the creditors and some of the collection companies. And, it's a game that, is played on the consumer's behalf, which is in our favor because we're for the consumer. And these laws they've been the same, but they're now being more enforced. Fines are coming down. Other things against not only collectors, but a lot of the agencies direct. So not only is it fines and not only is there money gotten for the consumer, once these fines and once everything is valid, once it's on this consumer side, they have to come off the credit report. Whether or not it happened to you, if it's not filed correctly, it can come off your credit report. That's why the law is there. So, with any item on a credit report, whether it's a, a short sale, a loan mod, a foreclosure, a bankruptcy, a credit card late to, a library card collection, all of them have to be reported the same way. And many times, and, luckily for us, they're done incorrectly. So,
Eric, so we see it a lot of times. People have a distress situation and they're doing a loan mod or even a foreclosure or whatever. There's just rolling lates for years and years and years. What's the best that someone in that situation can hope for? They come to you, they had the foreclosure or they had a loan modification where they were 0 times forever for a couple of years. Yep. Late forever for a couple of years, rolling late. What's the best that they could hope to accomplish? What could you offer them?
Yeah, well, what I can say is, from a complete deletion of the actual item or trade line, that has happened.
Oh wow!
From changing the status of being late, instead of rolling 90s, you might get a 1 times 30 or a much less severe 6 or 12 months history of late payments. So, until you start, and I say every report is kind of unique, but until you start the disputes, and it's a wild process sometimes, it feels like a boxing match or a WWE wrestling or an MMA fight. Until you start it, you never know what can happen, and sometimes you surprise yourself where it happens real fast, but other times it's a battle. But, again, anything from a full delete to getting some of the lates removed to getting some of the codes changed. A lot of times in the deep banking side, every trade line on your credit report has codes, whether it's a late payment or a bankruptcy or a short sale, and a lot of the coding sometimes can be inadvertently done incorrectly, and just getting that change sometimes can get you 20, 30, 40 points. So each and every scenario we look at, it's 5 or 6 different outcomes that could happen, but most of the time it's in a better range and a better way for the consumer.
So what do you do? Do you and this is an honest question. Do you dispute everything? Is that how it works?
No, it doesn't. I mean, in the end of the day, we end up and I don't mean might dispute everything. We don't do it at once. There's certain limits to what you want to dispute, so it doesn't flag as a frivolous dispute. So many times the larger or the depending on what either the realtor or the mortgage person needs to get done to get that house purchased, whether it's 20 or 30 points or it might be 100 points. So back to the individual credit report, depending on what they need, it will guide us to what we have to do first. But primarily if there are derogatories on that report at one point or another, we're going to go after them to try to correct them.